When it comes to unsavory supporters like white supremacists and right-wing extremist groups, President Donald J. Trump has a serious problem, a problem that was on full display at this week's disastrous presidential debate.
Are you willing tonight to condemn white supremacists and militia groups?
Sure. Give me a name. Give me a
white
name.
Supremacists and
white
like me to condemn? White supremacists and right
Proud Boys, stand back and stand by. But I'll tell you what. Somebody's got to do something about Antifa and the left, because this is not a right-wing problem.
The Proud Boys are a group described by the Southern Poverty Law Center as white nationalists, known for anti-Semitic, anti-Muslim, and misogynistic rhetoric. Heard that message, by the way, from Donald Trump this week, loud and clear. They heard it as a signal, a directive, stand by. They, in fact, adopted Trump's words during the presidential debate as a slogan, using stand back and stand by as a de facto rallying cry. They're actually making T-shirts and hats out of it. Now some Republicans optimistically wondered if President Trump misspoke at the debate. Others argued he's not quick enough on his feet to have deliberately sent a message like that to white nationalist supporters. Come on. It took him a fully 2 days of being hounded about this directive to the Proud Boys and about his failure to condemn white supremacy before he finally did say for the record that he condemns it. But how many times does Donald Trump have to tell us who he is before we actually believe him the first time? Don't forget, Trump made his position on white supremacy clear in the aftermath of the Charlottesville, Virginia Unite the Right rally back in August of 2017, after a gathering of far-right extremists carrying torches and chanting anti-Semitic slogans after a white supremacist drove his car into a crowd of peaceful counter-protesters and killed one of them. Donald Trump said there were very fine people on both sides. Donald Trump's racism problem is a dangerous one because white supremacy is violence. When the President of the United States sends signals that he does not condemn white supremacists, those signals are not lost. The founder of the Proud Boys said that he saw the president's remarks at this week's debate as a call to action. Quote, I think he was saying that if Antifa starts burning down cities again, go in and fight them. I think he was saying, I appreciate you and appreciate your support. That's what the Proud Boys think. Just to be clear, that's the leader of a violent extremist group saying he's taking his cues directly from the president. And if you're still tempted to believe this is somehow an accident on the part of the president, I can assure you that it's not. Consider this. NBC reported this week on internal documents from the Trump administration showing that federal law enforcement officials were directed to make public comments sympathetic to Kyle Rittenhouse, the teenager charged with fatally shooting 2 protesters in Kenosha, Wisconsin. Homeland Security officials were urged to suggest that Rittenhouse, quote, took his rifle to the scene of the rioting to help defend small business owners. Joining me now, Ali Soufan, former FBI Special Agent, CEO of the Soufan Group and author of The Black Banners Declassified. Also with us, Rebecca Schroeder. She's a community organizer who had her life forever changed by right-wing extremist groups. Good morning to both of you. Thank you for being here. Rebecca, let me just start with you. What is it that you were up to that got you targeted by right-wing extremists?
Good morning. Well, I had spoken out strongly against the paramilitary activity that had taken to the streets of my hometown, really fueled by conspiracy theories and misinformation around Antifa coming to town, or really just opposing the Black Lives Matter messaging. And as a result of speaking out against that illegal activity, I was targeted with really hundreds of intimidating messages or downright, threats to my life. We have a lot of work to do in America around accountability of our law enforcement. We're having that conversation right now. These paramilitary groups are accountable to no one. And it was really disturbing to see those kind of conspiracy theories really come to life on the streets of my hometown, and, make me feel that I am not safe living there anymore. And particularly when the local leadership, local officials sort of patted those folks on the back and condoned some of their activity, thanking them for, protecting us from some sort of imaginary threat, is very chilling to see those conspiracy theories and that kind of illegal activity come to life on our streets.
And just to be clear, Rebecca, this isn't just like I get sometimes, the random Twitter threat. This is actually specific to where you live. These are people around you.
That's right. I mean, we're getting empty bullet casings left near our vehicles and on our front doorstep. I have been a political organizer for many years in the community. It's a fairly small town. I didn't feel safe even walking out on the streets. And I know that I wasn't alone. There were local business owners, people of color, really anyone that spoke out publicly against this paramilitary activity face similar kinds of threats. And, now what we're seeing is kind of morphing into threats against some of our public health officials over COVID restrictions. It is a desire to come out and show force. We're not having productive conversations when one of these parties is, at the end of the barrel of a gun.
No kidding. Ali Soufan, no stranger to actual personal threats. But Soufan group, the Soufan Center, actually studies this. You were at the vanguard of understanding the degree to which American federal officials need to take the extremist threat seriously. And it's been a bit of an uphill battle for you to convince authorities that the Islamic extremist threat, which Donald Trump essentially made part of his election platform, is not actually nearly as serious, and Americans are not nearly at risk from that as they are to the homegrown extremist threat, which includes white nationalism and extremism.
Good morning, Ali. You're correct. Matter of fact, after 9/11, more people were killed by white supremacist and ultra-right organizations than by jihadis. And today we see the white supremacists operating very similarly to how the jihadis operated, at least in the 90s. They coordinate across national boundaries. They meet together in different places in the U.S. and around Europe. They go to get experience in combat and build international networks in places like Ukraine, which becoming like their own Afghanistan. And they coordinate their activities, even though they are not really monolithic, but they coordinate their activities together. We've seen that in Charlottesville, we've seen that in California, in Pennsylvania, in New York, and so forth. And don't get me wrong, what happened during the debate on Tuesday was shocking. This is not a dog whistle, it's a bullhorn. Imagine, just let's forget that it was President Trump who said that. Imagine that we were telling a leader in the Middle East or in the Muslim world, condemn Al-Qaeda or condemn ISIS. And then that person looked at the camera. He was uncharacteristically lost of words, and then he basically said, stand down and stand by. What will be the reaction of the United States? What will be the reactions of members of Congress? What will be the reactions of State Department and Treasury? How many sanctions will be doing against that person and his cabinet and his country? This is what happened yesterday. White supremacist is not only a danger for the United States, it is actually a danger for most of the Western world. Germany is dealing with this problem. England declared groups as terrorist organizations. Canada declared groups that have chapters here in the United States as terrorist organizations. And let me tell you something, Ellie. The Trump administration itself, in their national security strategy, drafted by General McMaster, mentioned white supremacy as one of the biggest threats against the national security of the United States. Also, in the same time, the FBI director just recently said that the number one threat domestically is white supremacy. The same thing with DHS. State Department, for the very first time ever, declared a white supremacist organization as a terrorist organization, the Russian imperial movement, that basically work under the cover of the Russian government, but they coordinate some activities of white supremacists even here in the United States. White supremacist is a domestic threat, a terrorism threat, and a foreign counterintelligence threat. And it was shocking that the President of the United States would just look at the camera, be totally lost of words, not know what to say, and then he will say, stand down, stand by. This is a bullhorn. This is not even a dog whistle anymore.
Well, and that's fascinating. I'm glad you brought up that point that the Soufan Center and the Anti-Defamation League used to be out in front of this thing, but now DHS and the FBI fully agree with you. So it's not just that there's a threat and a danger of the government not doing the right thing, but now you have the president sending the opposite signal that he should be. So thanks to both of you for your analysis. Both of you are subject to threats from some of these groups, so please stay safe. Ali Soufan is a former FBI special agent and the CEO of the Soufan Group. Rebecca Schroeder is a community organizer in Idaho. Follow both of these people because that's what it's like to live under threat from dangerous groups.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.